Good afternoon, everybody. This is September's podcast, episode 16. This is all about what makes a great lead. I'm Richard Beauvoisin. If you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, then please do. There's a link at the top of the page there. So you can click onto that. I'm looking to get a minimum of 100 subscribers at the moment. I'm on 86. So if I can get 14 more people, then that would be amazing. So please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm on to the questions now. So I'm going to be doing many more podcasts. This is going to be a two-part podcast for you, just to let you know. I'm going to do one part now and then one part next week, okay? I've had loads and loads of questions on what makes a great lead. I'm going to answer half of them now, and then I'm going to answer half of the what makes a great lead now, and then part two will be next week, and when in that case I'll do the other half of the questions, okay? Thank you to those that have listed the questions. So first question is all about being a great lead, or what makes a great lead. So if your follow moves out of time with the music, if your follow, I should say, moves out of time with the music, generally too fast or too slow, should you try and speed them up or slow them down, or accept it and forget about the beat? Now, sometimes regarding a follow, they may struggle technically to get round in 2 beats, for instance. That isn't unusual. So if that is the scenario, then personally, I would slow it down. I wouldn't try and rip their arm out of the socket to get them round quicker. So I would just take 3 beats to do the particular turn on that occasion. I would always try and stay on time and beat the music. I find it literally nails down a blackboard moment if you do go out of time with the music for me. So I'd always try and make sure that I stay in time with the music. If they're going too quickly, then again, I try and slow them down by holding them back a little bit. So music is very, very key. It should tell you what to do. So yeah, be in time with the music. But if your follow's going slowly or quickly, then try and counteract it by doing the opposite. Hopefully that helps. Next question then. Is there a way to increase attention connection if a follow has soft arms or frame? Very difficult one, this. We had a beginner, I won't say where, but a beginner this week where I was teaching, where literally, and I'll stand up just for a second for this one, okay? Literally, as you tried to move them, they were kind of like all over the place, and there was not a great deal that I could do. So I'm there holding my frame and making sure that everything is going correctly, and they were kind of like a roller coaster ride. And can I do a great deal about it? Not really. Not publicly anyway. So if you do have a scenario where your follow is completely and utterly floppy, okay, then that is a very difficult scenario to have. All I'd say is that there are always teachers on hand to help, and bring that person over to you if you want, and just say, and blame. My best tip for this one is blame yourself and just say, I'm struggling to lead what I want to lead. Is there anything different I can do? Even if you think to yourself, that might be my follow's fault, because remember, it's not always the man's fault. It's a part of the dance, of course. Ladies, you're responsible for your part of the dancing. Okay, so yeah, bring that person over to the teacher and blame yourself and say, is there something I can do? And then the teacher might actually would pick up that it's the follow that isn't actually doing the correct part on that occasion. And then the teacher can then correct, because the teacher will have a teacher and student relationship. You may be somebody that's been dancing a reasonably long time, but your follow may have been dancing longer and feel like they shouldn't be receiving advice from you. So it's technically a very difficult one to do, but a teacher will always have a teacher-student relationship and therefore feel entitled to give advice, and a student therefore will feel enabled to receive the advice nicely. Hopefully. Good. Right. What can you do if your follow steps back on the right? Sorry, if your follow steps back on the left rather than the right foot? Again, it's a very difficult one. I personally have become quite strict on this for ladies to go back on their right foot, or at least coming forwards on their right foot if they have held their position. Slightly different, more advanced topic, that one. But yeah, again, I'll just show you the principle behind this, okay? So, as a follow, if you set back on your right foot, then chances are you're going to be turning in an anti-clockwise direction next, and therefore you can come forwards like so. I'm loving the way I'm in socks today. That's a nice moment, isn't it? Okay, so therefore you want to make sure that you are going back on your right foot, ladies. It increases the tension in your arm as you step back away from the man. If you're back on your left foot, again, if I just pull up the screen slightly here. Okay, so if I go back on my right foot, then what ends up happening is my right shoulder comes back and I increase the tension in my hand like so. If you go back on the left foot, then what ends up happening is this becomes a lot more floppy and your right shoulder stays forwards, and therefore you don't quite get the right tension going into the man. So as a follow, you're always looking to get back on that right foot. We say it all the time, and it is a difficult technique to get right, but it's very much one to work on. As a lead, what can you do if you try and get your partner to get back on the right foot? There is something you can do, and I do this personally, okay? Again, standing up and down for dear money, okay? And that is, if I want my partner to go back on the right foot, I encourage them to go back on their right foot. How can I do this? I'm going to turn around so you can see the other side, amazingly so. Okay? And that is, if I'm in a mambo position, for instance, and I go forwards on my left foot, then my partner is naturally going to go back on their right foot. So if I'm doing a traveling return, for instance, and I step simply across the slot, then my partner could step back on either foot theoretically, okay? So therefore, if I'm doing a traveling return, and I want my partner to go back on her right foot, I will then step forwards on my left foot, a la like you're doing a mambo step. And therefore, they have to go back on their right foot, otherwise they're going to end up stepping in on top of your toes. So I would then encourage my partner, without saying necessarily this to them, by doing more steps forwards with them and getting them into the habit. And it's all about getting into good habits. So ladies, that's why we talk about in beginners, about getting into the good habit of going back on your right foot all the time. It's one of the first things that we talk about. And therefore you will get into that habit of getting back on the right foot, increase your tension and makes it much better. So as a lead, to try and get your partner to go back on their right foot, try and get into a mambo type step where you're moving your body forwards, therefore they have to move back on that right foot. Lovely question, by the way. Next one then, I like this one. If you lead a move which doesn't get followed correctly, basic or complicated, and you try second time with no success, should you keep persevering, give up, or get help? So yeah, quite often you'll try a move and it doesn't work. That's quite natural. You try things and it doesn't quite go correct. Now, I often talk about you're only going to get moves right, or you're only going to get something right 1 in 5 times, and that's okay. So 80% of the time it's going to go wrong. Of course, we then add our follow into that aspect of it. They're only going to get it right 1 in 5 times as well, theoretically at the beginning of doing something. So you've only actually got a 4% chance of it going right. It's quite scary, really, to think about that. So things are going to go wrong all the time, okay? Try it again, absolutely, because as a follow, if I get something wrong and I'm doing the follow part and my lead doesn't repeat it, I feel like, oh, it's obviously my fault, and therefore I feel a bit naff about my own dancing. So as a lead, absolutely, give it a second go. If it doesn't go right the second time, my own personal advice to you is probably have a chat with your partner, say, shall we have another go at doing that? And then you can actually just almost spend the rest of that time working on that one move. And it could be you not leading it quite right, could be your follow not quite following it correctly, it could be a number of different things. And again, at the end of the track, if it doesn't go right still, absolutely come and get help. That is what teachers are there for. They're teaching you. That is the principle behind what we do. Okay, so yeah, try it a couple of times. If it doesn't go right, talk to your partner, communicate that that is what's going right, or you're trying to get right. And then at the end of that, do get help. We are always able or always available for help. Can't always help, but we'll always try to. Next one here then. What can you do to keep a non-slotted follow on the slots? Lovely. So let's talk about slots very quickly, okay? Again, this goes into very much what makes a great lead. We'll come on to that very shortly. Okay, so generally what we have is our 3 slots. We have our center slot, our slow lane, and our fast lane. Okay, so that is the general theory. Lanes go forwards and backwards in that center slot. We talk a lot in beginner classes and intermediate classes about lanes going back to 6 o'clock, imagining our superimposed clock face on the floor. So you're going back to 6 o'clock. So therefore you are going to come forwards quite naturally in a straight line. It's your job, ladies, to stay on that straight line. Okay, what lots of ladies do, and if I show you my footwork here again, so I'm talking about going back to 6 o'clock at this point here, and therefore you're going to come forwards to 12 o'clock. If, ladies, you go back to 4 o'clock, then naturally you're going to come forwards to 10 o'clock and then start to wander off on the side. Is that the man's fault? Absolutely not. Most of the time, that's generally down to the ladies. You want to get back to that 6 o'clock position to go forwards to 12 o'clock, okay? So how do you get your follow to therefore stay on the slot if they are doing that? Number of different ways. If they are going across the slot, which lots of ladies do, some of that, by the way, is done by the man, and I'll again say a bit later on, we'll talk about slotted dancing, why that happens. But what I personally do, if I do find that my partner is trying to wander across that way, as I do the lead, I will actually hold the lead further to the left-hand side. Okay, obviously the right as you're looking at the moment. Okay, but further to the left-hand side. So even though they want to go across that way, my momentum is bringing them back the other way. The other thing I can often do as well is I'll actually just step in front of them to my right-hand side, and therefore they'll almost get blocked and have to then go back on themselves. So I'll almost block their path, or I hold them back the other way. Generally, I'm very fortunate that the ladies that we have in this particular area are all amazing dancers, and therefore they do stay on the spot when I'm dancing. And I can often tell somebody that isn't from our area, because all of a sudden they're wandering all around the place, and I'm like, where are you off to? And again, it's a conversation that I used to have a lot about ladies you're walking across the slot, and it all comes from ladies having your feet together when you turn. We talk about 3 basic fundamentals: weight with the weight over your back foot, traveling in a straight line from point A to point B, and turning and spinning with your feet together. So therefore, ladies, you're looking to keep your feet together when you do your turn. That again will keep you staying on the spot. Then you can go back to 6 o'clock. Okay, so I'm going to hold the questions there for now, because I've already ramped it on for nearly 13 minutes. I'm going to go on to first part of what makes a great lead. Okay, so great questions, by the way. Thank you very much for that. All right, so first of all, I've often been asked, what is the best male dancer out there, or who is the best male dancer? What do they do that makes them a great dancer? Okay, so for me personally, the A1 dancer, male lead, okay, is doing the most suitable complex moves that fit the music perfectly. Okay, that's quite a complex phrase to say, but basically, if you're doing really complicated moves that fit perfectly with the music, and the style of what you're doing fits exactly right. Okay, now that is a long journey to get to that point. Okay, and very, very few people out there are actually doing that, but that's generally what we're aiming for, doing really interesting, complex moves that fit perfectly with the music. So that's the A1 lead for me. Okay, so slotted dancing, I've mentioned it a few times. Let's go on to slotted dancing. Why slotted dancing? Why has theoretically changed the theory? And what's the difference between slotted and circular dancing? First of all, there is nothing wrong with circular dancing. Okay, let me just point that out. People do circular dancing, that's fine. If you want to do that, crack on. Okay, that's fine. Okay, that is a style of dancing. So Lindy Hop is a style of dancing, which is circular dancing. You go round and round, and it's an amazing type of dance. Salsa can be circular or slotted, both absolutely works. There's no right or wrong answer regarding dancing. Okay, but the general style that we do teach these days is slotted dancing. Okay, why is it key? Well, first of all, it means as a lead, I know when my partner's going to be, and as a follow, I know when my partner's going to be. So that, first of all, gives me very clear definition. Also, it means that we have a very stylistic type dance, and it has a nice stretch around it, and it actually looks, for me personally, amazing. Okay, rather than slotted dancing where we are going round and round and round. And last part is, I don't get quite so dizzy. So as a lead or a follow, if you're doing circular dancing, you actually get very, very dizzy, and it affects the lead and it affects the follow quite a lot. Now, slotted dancing, we can say as much as we like about doing slotted dancing, but there is one main place where people don't do slotted dancing. And you think, I am doing slotted dancing, I'm doing slotted dancing, I'm doing slotted dancing, okay? One main place, and I'll show it to you very easily, okay? And that is on any turn or return. So let's do a spot turn, so a beginner Ciroc move. Okay, so I step away from my partner, take my hand up to the shoulder, I turn my partner around, I take a step straight back, I step straight forwards, and I step straight back. Okay, I am on my center lane of my slot. Okay, and it's a nice simple move to do. Okay, I'm now going to show you what a lot of people do on a spot turn. So they would step away, they'd be on the center lane, They take the hand up to the shoulder, they would turn the hand around, they would then take the hand out to their left-hand side. They would then naturally bring the hand across, which makes your partner step that way, and you also step to your left-hand side, and amazingly now, we are on a different slot. Okay, so I often say to people, line yourself up with a hall. So either go lengthways or across, whichever way you're going to go, and stick to that way of doing it. If you start off on a diagonal, it's very difficult to figure out where your slot is. If you're struggling with slotted dancing, line yourself up next to the chairs. You physically can't go one way, you have one side blocked for you, okay? But the basic principle is that when people do a return, they often take the hand out to the side and then step to their left. They then may carry on doing slotted dancing, okay, and changing places, etc., but their slot has changed. Now, why is that an issue? It's an issue if you put lots of returns in a very short space of time. So I'm doing my spot turn, I've turned around this way, I'm now going to do a high first. I step in, I twist out, I come forwards and back, get my hand out to the left-hand side, do a return. You now get the rear view of me, which isn't always very polite. Okay, so as you do your return, ladies, step straight forwards, men, step straight forwards. Also, if you're moving your body, and again, we'll talk about that shortly, okay, moving your body to lead your partner, you shouldn't have to take your arm out to the side and give it a big old swing. Okay, so we're looking to make sure that we are stepping straight towards our partner. So if you change anything about your dancing, okay, then always look forwards and always look to make sure you are stepping straight forwards when you do your return. You'll be amazed at how different it is. Okay, and you both need to do that. So there's one of the things, okay? It also, if you do slotted dancing, it does enable me personally to do about 400 different types of moves. As soon as I start doing circular dancing, my repertoire is very, very much limited because there's only so many things I can do. So I don't actually know where my partner's going to be, and also the lead, rather than being a straight lead like this each time, will then be a bent lead, which I won't particularly want to do. Okay, so it'll be a much better aspect on the lead. So that's slotted dancing. So stay on the slot, ladies back to 6 o'clock, men don't swing the arm out and then step to your left, because that's going to encourage your ladies to step to the left, and then that will then make you get into that habit of going to the left when you do a return, and then you'll start going round and round and round and round and round, and round like that. Okay, good. Now, the next part I was talking about is about body weight, okay? And this is, again, for me, what makes a great lead, and this is more than anything else, I think, what I'll say, okay? So I say second half is going to be next week because there's so much content in this. I could literally carry on for hours, which I don't want to bore you with, okay? But body weight. So first of all, be positive in your actions. And again, I'm going to show you by standing up, right? So if I'm leading my partner and I want them to come towards me, the basic principle is we have an elastic band that we stretch out. When we let go of the elastic band, it naturally comes back into the middle. Okay, when we step away from our partner, we are stretching that elastic band. We're bringing our body weight backwards. Okay, now to lead my partner forwards, I simply have to step towards them or move my body. Is what I talk about quite a lot. So I'm moving my body to move my partner. If I'm doing a shadowing technique where I'm moving with my partner, I'm still moving my body to do this. Now, when you very first start, chances are you're going to do a basic like this. You're going to step back, you'll barely move your body, and you're going to be pulling and pushing your arms like this, and like nice and strong, okay? When you get better, what you then end up doing is moving your body much more. And actually, if you notice my hands, they're not actually moving in any way, shape, or form. I'm moving my body, and that is what's moving my partner. Unfortunately, what a lot of leads end up doing is they forget that they've moved their body, and they are still moving their arms, and that's when you start to hear people talking about over leading. So you have somebody called a very strong lead because they're moving their body really efficiently. However, they're also still pulling with their arms, and the ladies go, why are my shoulders hurting at the end of the night? And all ladies talk like that. Apologies for the bad joke. Okay, so we want to make sure that we are moving our bodies with or towards or away from our partners. Okay, so it's all about moving your bodies. When you first start, it's about a 10% body lead, 90% let's move the arms. As you get better, you're looking to move your body much more and move your arms much, much less. Wants to switch that around. So 90% moving your body, 10% is moving your arms. Okay, so that's what you generally get, right? So if I show you on an open present position, for instance, okay, so I step away, bring my partner in, I'm going to turn my partner out to the side. So imagine my partner's out to that left hand or right hand side, okay? Now, if I'm leading this in an old styling way of moving just my arms, I'm going to stay still, make my body weight to my left hand side and pull towards me. That's going to make my partner go out of control, feel out of control, and also again rip her shoulder out of its joint. So I'm literally going to wrap my partner in to do whatever I'm going to do next. What I'm looking to do is actually transfer my body weight towards my partner. Now, if you notice my hand, okay, I'm going to put it underneath the light switch, okay, to start, so you can get an orientation. Right, so if I'm doing it the old way of moving my arm, I'm going to pull it towards me. So you can see there it's kind of come halfway through to the door. If I move my body, okay, then generally it's actually almost gone the opposite direction. Okay, so although I'm leading my partner, my hand has actually gone down effectively, is what it should be doing depending on what I'm doing. And my hand stays in the same orientation where it should be. Okay, so it's gone to that position there and then lowered down rather than that scenario. Okay, so think about moving your body as much as you possibly can. Okay, so this month, or this week I should say, because I'm going to be doing many more podcasts for your pleasure. Okay, it's been all about what makes a great lead. Two basic things to start with: slotted dancing, keep your feet together when you turn, both for men and for ladies, and make sure that you are in that position to be positive about what you do. And then the next thing is body weight, so move your bodies to move your partner in any way you like. Okay, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. That would be amazing. I'm looking to get it to 100 initially and then to 1,000 subscribers. In the future, what I'm going to be doing, just to let you know, is pre-recording these. They'll be on my YouTube channel, and then you'll be able to watch them on Facebook should you wish to watch them as well. Okay, but they will be pre-recorded in the future. So yeah, so this is part 1 about what makes a great lead. We might do part 2, 3, 4. We'll see how we get on for that. For now, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you again soon.